Hey everybody! So today I'm going to teach you about resin casting. Now resin casting is, you may have seen online those tables that are covered in pennies and then there's like a clear coat on top of it. That's resin casting. You can mix this chemicals together, lay it on top of those pennies, and boom, it's permanent forever. Those pennies will stay there, they'll never change, they'll never rust, tarnish, whatever. You can also use it to do jewelry. You know, if you've ever seen these little plastic pendants or keychains or anything like that, that's how they make them, resin casting. You can make all kinds of things. Like this I made is a decoration for my fish tank. It actually has real flowers inside of it. And as you can see, those flowers, the colors on those flowers will never change. They'll never die in there. They'll never get, you know, brown and gross. The resin will keep it like this forever. So basically, it's a way to preserve stuff, and it's a way to use this resin to decorate things as well. Now, people also use it for things like paperweights. This, I remember last year, the last leaves that I found on the ground before winter started and everything died, I took those leaves and 2 sticks like this and I threw them in this resin block just to see if the leaves would change color, because I wanted to know what different kind of uses you could actually do with this stuff, because I love science and crafting and do-it-yourself and all that kind of stuff. So as you can see, these leaves are over a year old and the leaves are still green. It's hard for my camera to focus, but I'm sure that you can see those leaves are still green. And this, even though it's like sticking out a little bit, it's still covered in resin, so that'll be preserved forever. And you can see, those leaves are still green. They're still exactly as they were when I picked them off the ground over a year ago. Actually, it's almost 2 years now, but you get the idea. So you can see they will always stay preserved inside this forever. So it's a way to preserve stuff. You could take your kid's first lock of hair, put it in there, use it as a keepsake. You could put your kid's first tooth in it, maybe a wedding trinket from your wedding. You could put in a block of that and put it on some kind of display in a cool mold or a cool shape, whatever. So here's a few things that you're gonna need. You're gonna need the resin, which there's a bunch of different kinds. It's always 2 different parts, part A and part B, or part 1 and part 2. And what happens is you mix equal amounts. That's very important. If you don't mix equal amounts, the resin will not harden and it'll stay mushy and gross and it will not do what it's supposed to do. So these are just epoxy resin, part A, part B. Depending on what you're going to use it for, if you're going to make like a stupid little necklace or something, this is fine, these little ones. I was using it for a bunch of different stuff, and I'm actually going to be hosting an anniversary party for the moon landing. For the anniversary of the Apollo moon landing, and I used it to make a bunch of these, which are just little mementos that you could give out at the party. And it's a picture of this guy here with the moon on it. This guy, you can see there's a huge bubble in this one, and I'll tell you more about that later. So this is a dud one, but I just wanted to show you what you could actually do with it. So this guy is actually somebody who worked on the rover for NASA for the moon landing, so we're gonna honor him at this party. So we just wanted to make these so we could give out little mementos for everybody that stops by. So you can see this, the picture will be in there forever. Now, this one is ruined, obviously I'm not gonna give this one out, I made a bunch of other ones. But you could see there's a big bubble where his head is. So you could see that is ruined, and I'm going to tell you why later and how to avoid that. But now I'm going to show you other things that you can use the resin for. So yeah, obviously you're going to need the resin, part A, part B. Mix them equal amounts together, and then you stir them for 3 minutes. You're going to also need some kind of mold. Now some people use plastic and then they cut it with a razor blade and they pull it off and they sand the resin and they polish it and all this other stuff. You could do that if you want to. I ain't got time for all that. So what I do is I just get a silicone mold, you pour it in here, you let it harden, You pop it out, you're done. You don't got to sand or any of that other stuff. So get yourself a mold. You can also use, they have these kind of molds too, also resin. This one is for like little trinkets that you could put like on your table and stuff. And I want to show you another mistake that could go wrong. Now you can see this came out of that mold. It's like a little, you know, it's like a little egg that you put around, almost like a Fabergé egg. So inside this one, you can see how cloudy it is. I put a tiny little bunch of flowers in there. But what happened was, if you pour the resin, you mix the resin when the resin is cold. I made this in the winter. It will fill with these tiny little air bubbles that you will never get out. They say to use a blowtorch and blowtorch it. I'm not blowtorching anything in my house, sorry. Oh, so another trick that you could do to get the air bubbles out is actually breathe out on it. Because the carbon dioxide that's in your exhalation, when you exhale, the carbon dioxide pops the bubbles that you'll see on the top of it after you pour it into the mold. So you could breathe on it like that to get the bubbles out. Now also very important, a lot of times in its liquid state, these chemicals are toxic. So if you can pour this outside, that would be perfect. If it's a nice day out and you can pour it outside. It's actually so hot here today. It's like 90 something degrees. But yeah, try to do it outside. If you can't, make sure it's a ventilated area, or get like a face mask. I do this, which I know is not scientifically good, but you can get a face mask so you're not breathing it in, and etc, etc. Get rubber gloves. Make sure you have latex or some kind of gloves for your hands, because you should not get these chemicals on your hands or your skin. Also, whatever area you're working in, put down newspaper, put down copy paper, line it with something, because resin is permanent. So if you're doing it on a countertop, if you're doing it on your kitchen table, if you're doing it, I'm set up in the bathroom, because this is like the nicest place where I can shoot a video that has good light and good sounding, because you'll never hear me in my living room and you won't see me anywhere else. But anywhere that you do it, make sure you protect the area that you're doing this stuff on. Because if this resin gets on something and you don't notice it and it hardens, it's there forever. You cannot get it off without destroying whatever it's on. Okay. I think I covered most of the basics. So another couple little additives that you could probably get or buy or want to use is, I got these little things of glow powder, and I got them on not eBay, I got them on Amazon. You can dump these into your resin when you're mixing it, and it will make whatever you are casting, it will make it glow. Oh, I'm gonna pause you and I'm gonna grab one. Okay. So this is something that I made with the glow powder. And you can see this one here is one of those moon landing ones that I told you I was making in honor of the guy that was working on the moon lander. So you could see you could do a lot of cool things with it. This is just a little block I made to show you guys that the glow powder mixed in with it will actually make your project glow. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is we're going to, other additives, you could put flowers in it, obviously. I got these on like Amazon, I think, for like, I got these on Geek or Wish, one of those two, for like 99 cents. But it's like real tiny crushed, not crushed, but dried flowers. You could throw them in there, you could throw pictures in there, obviously. You could put whatever you want in it. Another tip, whatever you put in it, whatever you fill it up, you put the stuff in it, it's gonna rise right up to the top. So if you want your object in the center, what you're gonna do is you're gonna pour halfway. You can see here how this is two different pours. I could have poured this clear and you would have never known that it was two different pours, but what I did was I poured it, I put my object in, so it stayed up at the top of this layer, and then I filled it. So now when you look at it, the object, which is the picture of the guy that worked on the Land Rover, he is in the center of it. He didn't swim down to the bottom. He's not laying all the way up top. So that is what you want to do to keep it from floating up and ruining your whole thing. Do it halfway, put your picture in, let it harden, pour a second on top once the picture is already hardened on the top of the first layer, and that will put him or it or whatever you want to put in your thing right in the center. So it's not floating all the way up to the top and looking crazy, okay? So now I'm going to show you over here. Oh, it's so hot. Oh, I'm going to show you over there how you're going to mix it. It's a very exact process. So if you are already familiar with resin, but you're having problems with bubbles, or you're having problems with it being cloudy, or you're having problems with it not getting hard, then here's a couple of tips for you. Make sure that the resin itself, when you're mixing it, that the mix, A and B, that they're not cold. If it's cold, it's going to come out like this milky, horrible color, which means it has tons and tons and tons of these little micro bubbles in it. And that's it. You're not getting them out no matter what you do. I don't care if you blowtorch it or whatever. It's going to dry and harden cloudy. If you have a lot of bubbles up on the top of it, what you can do, like I said, carbon dioxide will break those bubbles. So you could just do that. You don't need a blowtorch. You don't need any kind of crazy fancy stuff. Just exhale. And you'll see the bubbles will start popping up on the top. You're welcome. Any other problems that I could think of? Yeah, so don't do it when the mix is cold because you'll ruin it. Also, what I was doing for a little while is I was setting these into a thing of warm water. Just warm, not hot. Don't let it be hot, because if these are too hot when you mix them together, and these will also give off heat. I just wanted to warn you, don't get scared. When you're doing the mixing of these two chemicals together, the cup or whatever you have it in will get hot. Sometimes it'll get really hot. The other day I had to take my mold and put it onto like a cookie rack, like a pie rack, because I was scared that it might set my table on fire. I'm not even lying. So be careful. It actually melted the plastic cup that it was in. That's how hot it got. So, and that was because I warmed it too much. So you can warm it before you mix it. If you're in a cold place, do not warm it too much, because if it's too hot, it'll cure really quick, which means there'll be tons of bubbles in it. It'll get extremely hot, which could be dangerous depending on where you have it in your house and what materials you're sitting it next to. But don't do it cold. Try to keep it at room temperature. If your room temperature is cold, fill up a bucket or your sink with lukewarm water, room temperature water. Sit it in there for a couple minutes until the bottle is not freezing cold anymore, and then do your mixing. But again, the hotter those chemicals are, the warmer they are when you mix them, the hotter they're going to get as you're mixing them, and the faster it's going to become hard, which could be really bad, because if you mix too much air into it and it cures too quick, there'll be bubbles over everything and it will be ruined. Okay, so now I'm going to show you how to measure it, how to mix it, and how to pour it over here. Okay, so what I did was, because you want to make sure you're mixing equal amounts, I got these throwaway party cups, and they have this design on it. And as you can see, they have like these lines on them. So this way, I know if I fill it up to the second line on here, the top of the second line on here, I'm going to fill it up to the second line on here. That's how I do it. You could get cups that have, I think they actually make cups for this thing that's like pre-measured and stuff, but whatever you're using, it's going to be thrown out when you're done. So don't put it in like your favorite dish or your favorite coffee cup, because that's it. It's done. It's done for. So what you're going to do now is get something that you can mix it with. I just got these craft sticks. It's like a popsicle stick. It's wood. And I might even throw some, I think I might, no, you know what? I'm not even going to throw glow powder in it. I already showed you what it does. If you want to get it, blah, blah, blah. But for now, let's just keep it simple. I'll show you how to mix them. Okay, so this is part A. Yours might say part 1, yours might say whatever, I don't even know what it says, but this one says part A. So you're going to fill up the cup. You can see this one is, one of them is usually pretty thick, and then the other one is going to be like a lot thinner, almost very watery. I'm just going to fill this up to the top of that first, line right there. Now, obviously, I should be wearing gloves, but I used the last of my gloves yesterday when I was doing stuff with this. But please, wear gloves. Wear a mask if you have any kind of respiratory issues, or if you have asthma, or if you're worried about breathing in the fumes. Just be cautious with it. Now, here's part B. And you're going to see, I'm going to fill this up to the same line. And you can see, this one is going to be a lot runnier than the other one. One of them is like an activator, and the other one is the actual resin. I don't know, that's how it works, I think. But it's always, I just call it part A and part B, because that is what it is. So now, after you get it measured, now we're going to look at them. We're going to make sure that they're both... Oh, also, if these are not at the same level, and if you have more of part B than part A, or more of part A than part B, when you are done mixing with it, you'll pour it, and it will never harden, or it will harden in some spots and not in the other. So please make sure... Which one of these is liquidy? Okay. Please make sure that when you're measuring it, you can also measure it on a scale if you would like, and put the same exact weight in each cup to be more precise if it's something very important to you, or if you're doing this as a business and you want to make sure that the items are coming out perfect, then you might want to invest in some kind of a scale and make sure that you are doing it properly. Okay, so now what I'm going to do, I'm going to scrape this cup, because remember, any that you leave in this cup, that means it's now not the same measurement as what's in the other cup. So just try to be perfect. I know that we're not going to be 100% perfect, but try to do it as if you wanted it to be perfect. Try to get out as much as you can. And then this cup, I'm just throwing out, because it's no good no more. Okay, so now I don't have a clock in here, so I can't really tell how long I'm mixing this for. But you're going to mix this, you're going to continuously mix this for 3 to 5 minutes. So while I'm mixing it, I'm going to put you guys on pause. Actually, no, you know what? I'm not going to put you on pause. If you don't want to watch me mixing this, then you can fast forward, because some people probably want to see how it gets clear and how it's mixing and how air doesn't get it, how you don't get air into it, and blah, 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 blah. All those different things. So right now I'm just mixing. You want to scrape around the edges of the cup. Make sure that you're mixing everything, because any of it that's clinging to the side, that's not getting mixed in. If this is not mixed properly, like I said before, it will not work. It will not work properly at all. Now mine is actually, I should have probably warmed this, but I was standing here talking and jibber-jabbering for so long that it got cold. But you can see mine does have some air bubbles in it, which I'm not really worried about because this is just for demonstration. But you should make sure that when you do it, that the mix, like I said before, is not cold. Mine got a little cool. I don't know how, because it's like literally, it's like 90 degrees outside and it's like 100 degrees in here because I couldn't put the air conditioner on for this reason, because I didn't want the stuff to get cold. But you're just gonna mix it. Don't mix it crazy. Just mix it. Make sure you're mixing it gently. Don't mix it all kinds of crazy, because then you're gonna blend a bunch of air bubbles right into the mixture. Just make sure you're scooping the bottom of it. Yeah, make sure you're scooping the bottom. Make sure you're scraping the sides. Make sure everything is getting mixed, because one of these chemicals is very thick. It's like mixing pancake batter. Well, not pancake batter, because that's not really thick. It's like mixing a thick batter with a thin... Alright, so my analogy is not really good. But one of them is thick and one of them is not thick. So when you're mixing them, you know, you want to make sure that you mix them good is what I'm trying to say here. I'm just trying to kill 3 minutes, okay? Alright, so you're mixing this. Oh, and also, another thing I wanted to say about the molds that you're going to use. Whatever you use, if you use a silicone mold, you can reuse it over and over and over and over and over. If you're going to use one of those stupid plastic, like, candy trays or whatever you want to call it, it's going to get destroyed. You're not going to be able to get this out of it because it's going to harden in it, and it's going to get hardened to it, and you're going to have to destroy the mold to get it out. It's going to probably make your piece all cloudy and look horrible. There's going to be chips and dents in it. So try to use a silicone mold unless you don't care about the mold that you're using and you don't care about destroying it or bending it or chipping it or whatever. Then do what you want. But I'm just letting you know, whatever mold you're going to use, if it's not a silicone mold, it's going to be destroyed, in my opinion. Okay, and you can't see. I'm telling you could see, but the cup is actually getting warm now. Oh, you know, another thing that I did was, I have a heat gun that I use because I make bath bombs and stuff like that. So I took the heat gun and I blasted the top of each one with it for like 3 seconds just to break the bubbles that float up to the top of it. And that actually seemed to work pretty good. So if you want to, you know, hit it with a little bit of your heat gun to try to pop those bubbles, you could do that as well. Alright, so now I'm going to throw this stick out. Actually, I'm going to mix it for a little bit more because it's still not that clear. Alright, so mine actually got a bunch of bubbles in it. So when I pour it, you would really need to work on those bubbles in there. But it's not bad like when I did it in the winter and everything came out cloudy. So what I'm going to do now is show you how to pour it into the mold, show you how to add stuff to it, etc., etc., etc. Okay, so here's my mold, a round like silicone thing, and you're just gonna take your stuff and just pour it in. What I'm gonna do with this is pour it halfway. I'm not gonna be able to finish it obviously because you gotta let this cure for a couple hours, but just pour it halfway. Pour it in there. Pour it halfway, like that. Oops, I already filled that one. Okay, and I think that's pretty much it. That's all I really have left. Okay, so now what you're gonna do is you're gonna put your little like additives in there. Oh, I wanted to show you, I want to see if you could see how I do the bubble stuff. Alright, so this is really hard to do because my holder thingy for this camera really sucks. But I'm gonna try to see if you could see them bubbles that are in there. Now look as I exhale onto it. Hopefully you can see that a lot of those bubbles just completely disappeared. I'm gonna do it here as well. Trying to get as close up as I can. Okay, ready? Did you see all the surface ones popped? Let's try it on this one too. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna add the little additives. So I'm gonna take a penny and put a penny in one. I'm gonna take, what else do I got? Maybe I'll take a couple of these little flowers here. You know, I got these supposedly real flowers, but they feel very papery to me. Wish, you'll be hearing from me, wish. Just kidding, I don't care. So you're gonna take that, we're gonna push that under the resin and sort of move it around a little bit like this, so that you can get whatever air bubbles are in it to come to the surface. See how that air bubble came to the surface and popped? Because if there's an air bubble on the other side of this, it'll look like that picture that I showed you before, the one that I made where the big dot was on the guy's head. So that is what you want to do to make sure that you don't have air bubbles under it. If you're adding a picture, oh, now I gotta find a picture for you people. Oh, I do so much stuff for my wonderful YouTube family. If you're putting a picture in it, I'm just gonna rip this out of the magazine right here. That's fine. I just ripped the magazine apart to put down. You're putting in a picture, try to put it in like this. You're gonna put it in sort of like this, like crunkled. Put the center all the way in, and then once the center part of it is in, squish it from the center under the resin. So any air that was in it is traveling up. It's traveling up where it's not in the resin yet and coming out the end. Okay, and then just push it under. Because like I said, if there's air underneath there, if you just plop it straight in, it's going to have air under it and it's going to be ruined. Now you can see this piece of newspaper thingy-majiggy that I put in there, it's going to float up to the top slowly. The penny just sank right down to the bottom. So if you're going to do something with like a penny or a very hard object, well, then you're going to have to do a very thin layer first and let it completely harden. Put the penny on it and then fill it up so that it has a little shelf to sit on so it doesn't sink to the bottom. But this is the first time I did the penny, and I'm just doing this to show you guys because that's how nice I am. Ruining all my expensive resin just for the love of YouTube. The flour thingy, like I told you before, make sure that anything that you put in there, make sure that there's a way for the air to get out. So like I could see bubbles on this, so I'm just gonna flick them up here to the top. Maybe I'll just roll it over so you can see there was an air bubble there. That would have ruined my whole day if I waited all day for this to dry and I seen a gigantic air bubble on it. So that's it. So another thing that you could do with this that people do a lot is you can make these little jewelries with it. It's like, I gotta get close because I don't know how to autofocus with this stupid camera. So it would reset itself and now I don't know how to do anything with it. But this is like a necklace. And you could put maybe like a tiny picture in it or whatever. I have somewhere here. Oh, here it is. This is a tiny little silicone mold. You can get these on Geek. You can get them on Wish. You can get them on Amazon. You could probably get them in craft stores. I found mine online because I hate going to stores. And you would fill it with the resin. I'm actually going to make... Oh, I don't have any resin left. But you would put whatever you want in it. You know, like your little flower or whatever. And then you would... You know, you put your flour in there. And then you fill it with the resin. How do I focus? And then you fill it with the resin. And it has this little stick in it. See that? So that the resin hardens around that stick. And then when it comes out of there, it's got a hole going through it. So now you can hang that through a necklace, a string, a rope, whatever. You could sell it on Etsy if you're like a fancy little crafting person or something. You could just give it out as gifts, although you might be looked at as a cheapie. Or people might be like, oh, that was so cool. Depends. Depends on who you're giving this gift to. Because you know, some people, you know who I'm talking about. Because you're saying it right now. You're like, oh, if I give that to Melissa, she'd be like, meh. But if I give it to Teresa, she would be like, oh, it's so beautiful. You know what you can do. I'm not going to tell you what to do. But anyhow, oh, I broke it. No, I'm just kidding. I didn't even break it. I lied right on YouTube. See, it's perfect. Okay, but anyhow, it's really hot in here. And I just wanted to show you guys how to do resin. Oh, you know what? I'm going to show you one more little thing, how I was showing you how to blow the bubbles off. There's always this ring that pops up, like halfway through it. Like this white ring that floats around it. I'm going to show you now, and I'm going to do my breathing thing. And I'll show you. It works. It actually works. So for you crafting people, you resin people that are watching this going, ew, he's blowing on it. He's supposed to have a blowtorch. No. I'm going to show you right now. Oh, let me make sure my camera can see it so that I can show the whole world. Okay, ready? See that blue thing? That blue flower and those bubbles all around it? Watch this. Oh yeah, blowtorch what? Okay, so anyhow, I think the heat's getting to me. But I hope you like this video. I always make these crazy science videos because I love science stuff. I like to do it yourself stuff, home improvement crafts, blah, 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 blah. If you like my videos and you want to see more, please give it a thumbs up because YouTube changed its rules. And it made me crazy. I used to get like 10,000 views on a video. Now I'm lucky if I get like 10 because they changed their algorithm and they got rid of Google Plus, which is where I had like 50,000 followers. So, needless to say, I gotta start over. And you can help me. Thumbs up, click subscribe, share this video on your social media if you think I did a good job. And thanks for watching. NASA! I love NASA.